Happy Easter, everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of Big Game Talk with Brad and Chris. I have another sportsless week here, but we're still coming at you with another episode. So before we get into it, let me kick it to Chris.
Now, a word from our sponsor. Say goodbye to bad hair days once and for all with On Point Pomade. Whether you're looking for a timeless shine with an all-day hold or a natural finish with an irresistible, fresh cologne scent, On Point Pomade will take your hair to the next level. Use discount code BGT10 for 10% off your entire purchase at onpointpomade.com. That's BGT10 for 10% off your purchase at onpointpomade.com. Now let's hit that music.
Recording from snowy Canada, this is Big Game Talk. Now here are your hosts, Brad and Chris.
Welcome to episode 12, everybody. Another quarantine episode. So, Chris, how's your quarantine going?
It's pretty good. Today I went to the LCBO. For you American listeners, that is our one and only liquor store in Canada. And I had to wait in the beer line, like outside. Everybody was lined up, and they had markers like every 6 feet, so you knew where to line up. It was strange. It went faster than I expected, but it was weird getting out of the house now and seeing like just how the world has changed. I know you went shopping too, Brad, right? What was that experience like?
I picked up this mic here that you see, and it was interesting. We had to do the Best Buy online reserve order. The whole line up was outside. About 12 people in line, but you're about 200 meters away from the door just because everybody's so far apart. So it was really interesting. And I mean, I think Best Buy is doing everything that they should be doing. I felt super safe in it, but it's really weird. And at least 3 people got kicked out of line because somebody was going up and down the line going, "Did you reserve something?" If you hadn't reserved something, they were kicking you out. So I mean, it's good to see that they're doing what they should.
Yeah, it's strange though. It's weird. Like when I went up, I had to put my ID up up against the glass that was blocking me and the cashier. Like they're just pulling all the stops. And I drove past the grocery store and I was like, man, I'm glad I don't need food today because that line was long.
And all these people, you need to understand, you got to do what you're supposed to do because the quicker we get this solved, the quicker we get sports back, people.
Yes, that is like the critical thing. Like we all got to work together. It's gonna be a crappy few weeks, but a crappy few weeks saves us from this being an on and off again issue for the next year and a half. Until we get a vaccine. So it's just everybody's got to pull together, and you're doing your part in staying home. You're doing your part in listening to our podcast because I mean, if you listen to a podcast, you're not out on the go.
You got nothing else to do too. So
you got nothing else to do, and because we know you're all at home, and a lot of people. I know I use Spotify and iTunes on the road, and I use YouTube for my podcasts while I'm at home because I like the visual element. We updated our studios, so we have our Big Game Talk studio. It is such a big studio. It goes from one side of Toronto to the other. It's that big. Facilitated by Zoom, and we're putting the entire podcast in its entirety in video form on YouTube starting from now. There'll still be YouTube clips for people that like the short little bites, but we have the whole thing up on YouTube for you guys.
And we're gonna keep putting it on Spotify and iTunes and wherever else you find your podcast. But just might as well put it up full video form in case you want to see our ugly mugs during quarantine.
If you don't want to see our ugly mugs, well, we still
just listen to our voice.
Listen to our voice. Turn off your screen or something, or listen to us on iTunes or Spotify.
Fair enough. And then, Chris, we got an email.
Yes,
finally. We've been asking.
We've been asking for emails, and we got a little email contest. Stay tuned till the end. Yeah. We have a chance to win something. We'll get into that later. But our first email we've ever received, it goes, "Dear friend, how are you doing? My name is Sylvester Sawyer, and I work with a branch of Standard Chartered Bank, Ghana. I write to seek your consent to present you as next of kin to the account of a deceased client for a claim valued at $5.3 million, and he clarifies that's $5,300,000. If interested, kindly contact me for more details via email below. info.eda@gop@gmail.com. Regards, Sylvester." So
yeah, just
one
think
of us,
about how much we could do for this podcast with that much money.
we could have like the studio wouldn't have to be on Zoom anymore via Zoom. We could just be in one place.
Yeah.
Man, that would be nice. So Sylvester, we're gonna be contacting you. Thanks for hooking us up. Turns out one of us has a relative from Ghana. Who knew?
Yeah, and considering the name on that account is Brad and Chris, I don't know how they found us. But...
Yeah, I don't know how they found us, but it's crazy. People just sending money out these days. I got another text. It was like it said you were like eligible for like coronavirus relief. $1,000. Text this number to get it. So like people are just sending money like to me left and right. Yeah, I don't know. Like
the one thing
this is a good time.
Have you got a phone? I haven't got a phone call since the shutdown happened. I was getting there was times I would get 3 phone calls a day. I haven't got a phone call since all this shut down.
Well, I have like my number ever since I had it. The last person to have my number was an unemployment agency, and I still get calls because on Google Yellow Pages it's still the unemployment agency that my number is up there, and I've called Yellow Pages, I've called Google, I've called everybody trying to change it, and nobody seems to be able to do it. So I just kind of gave up, and I don't want to get a new number because then like I have to tell everybody like it's just a hassle. So I field about like 7 calls a day on average.
And for somebody that has lived with Chris before, he only answers these phone calls when he's upset.
Yeah.
When he's in a good mood, he just declines them. When he's in a pissy mood, those people are getting a rude answering.
No, I'm always pretty kind. Like, cause but the thing is, ever since this like kind of Corona stuff happens, it's just been kicking into full gear. Cause I guess everybody's getting laid off. So the unemployment agency is in high demand right now.
Yeah,
so I always
need to get a new phone number.
Yeah, I just need that. That's the reality. Like it's been doing this since like high school. So yeah, I need to get a new phone number.
It's about that time.
It's about that time. But anyways, so we got a lot of news today. We just to give you a quick rundown. We got MLB's news. We got XFL shutting down. UFC 249 canceled. We're going to talk about Tom Brady's legacy as he moves to the Bucs. We're going to have a discussion about that. Then we're going to do the Elite 8 round of our Mascot Madness Mascot NCAA cage fight. So all you people missing March Madness, we got you covered. And then and that's all she wrote. So let's get into the first set of news. So MLB has come out with a kind of a proposal to get some semblance of a season out for 2020. And now we talked about it on the show last week, like what we thought MLB was going to do, whether the MLB was even going to have a season. And I was uploading the clip of that video on Friday, and I was like titling it like, will MLB have a season in 2020? And just as the video finished uploading, I got a text from my cousin who's really up to date on the sports news, and he said, hey, did you hear about the MLB realignment? And I thought to myself, I don't know what that is, but all I know is our video is outdated the second it came out. So now we're going to kind of fix that and cover the MLB realignment. So Brad,
do you want to explain the realignment? I haven't heard too much about this.
Okay, so first off, like this is a proposal, one of many, so take it with a grain of salt, but this is something that I think this is one of those things like MLB's trying to run things up the flagpole and see if people salute, and people are starting to salute this idea. So it's starting to solidify now that it's come out.
Yeah.
So the proposal is, as I said, one of many, and it makes it so that the teams are playing at their spring training facilities. This is so you don't have players traveling across the country. So everybody's limited to their spring training facilities. And because of this, the leagues and the divisions have to shake up because they're going to be split, Arizona and Florida. And the thing is, there's National League and American League teams that play in Arizona, and the same can be said about Florida. So the leagues, they don't matter as much anymore. Like, so it's just going to be the Grapefruit League, which is in Florida, and the Cactus League. So the teams in the Grapefruit League, there's 3 divisions. There's the North Division with the New York Yankees, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Toronto Blue Jays, Detroit Tigers, and Pittsburgh Pirates. So unfortunately for you, Brad, as a Jays fan, like this was your one chance to get away from the Yankees, and you couldn't.
Yeah, that's tough. That's real tough there.
And then in the South Division, we got the Boston Red Sox. So the Yankees are no longer with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Minnesota Twins, Atlanta Braves, Tampa Bay Rays, and Baltimore Orioles. Then in the East, you have the Washington Nationals, the Houston Astros, the New York Mets, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Miami Marlins. And one thing I'll say about the Grapefruit League is there's going to be most of the games are going to be within the divisions, but there's some games outside. So hopefully we get a Mets Blue Jays series. We could that'd be really fun good. For our.
The other thing too, you said that Nationals Astros games, that'd be real interesting to see after last year's World Series.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's going to be those are going to be heavily contested. I'm happy that my Mets are in with the Astros now that they don't have their MVP player, the trash can. It's gonna be fun. And if this, the biggest winner if MLB doesn't play in 2020 is the Astros. They get let off the hook big time in terms of people's reactions and all that. And
but here's the thing: I don't think they'd be a winner though, because then everybody would just assume that they would suck. If they come out this year and they turn into rock stars and they do good without the banging of the trash cans, you're going to put some of these doubters to bed. So
that's true.
I think they lose more if the season's canceled.
That's true. No, that's fair. And I mean, they have them playing without fans is the ideal situation, I guess.
Yeah, but then the trash can's too loud. It gives it away.
They're gonna need to do bird calls or something caw, But anyways, moving on into the Cactus League, we have the Northeast Division with the Chicago Cubs, the San Francisco Giants, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Colorado Rockies, and the Oakland Athletics. And then in the West, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers, Chicago White Sox, Cincinnati Reds, Cleveland Indians, and Los Angeles Angels. And then in the Northwest Division, we have the Milwaukee Brewers, San Diego Padres, Seattle Mariners, Texas Rangers, and Kansas City Royals. So I'm thinking out of all these divisions, the Yankees, I mean, they're they have the most to gain from this division change. I mean, you look at they're up against clubs in the North, Grapefruit North, that finished in third and fourth place in their respective divisions last year. Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Toronto account for 3 of baseball's 17s that won fewer than 70 games in 2019. So there's always next year, and teams don't performance last year is not indicative of performance this year, but still there's something to be said
at that the Tigers and Pirates are going to be horrible this year. Those are the Yankees are taking dubs pretty much every time they play them. Mm-hmm. The Phillies, I think, are competitive. But not the Blue Jays, as much as they're my favorite team, but as much they're not going to be competitive against the Yankees this year, I can't see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm just looking at for my team, the Mets, the Grapefruit League East. I mean, we don't get away from the Nationals. It would have been nice to have a season without the Nationals as division rivals. That would have been kind of a breath of fresh air. Astros, without the cheating, they still stand to be good this year. Miami Marlins, not that great, but the St. Louis Cardinals have a pretty good ball club. So it's going to be it's one of the tougher divisions that the Mets are in.
Yeah.
And the Brewers, I mean, the Brewers seem to have it pretty easy against the Padres, the Mariners, the Rangers, and the Royals. I think a few people have said that's going to be the easiest one. Brewers in the Northwest Cactus League.
You can almost see the Padres taking a step up quicker than expected in that division.
Yeah, and this is the I think they're this shakeup for a few teams. It's nice to get away from that bully in your division that's just always had your number.
Unless you're the Blue Jays.
Unless you're the Blue Jays and you're still up against the Yankees, and if you're the Mets, you're still up against the Nationals. So
so this is good for everybody but us.
Yeah, basically, it's good for everybody but us, and most likely. DH is going to be universal because you're mixing up and you're cheering. So this is my thought, right? The DH is the way this is going. The universal DH is the way things are going. That's the reality. It's what the player unions want. It's what the MLB management wants. Not necessarily what some managers want, but that's aside the point. Most people want the universal DH that are the powers that be.
Okay.
And this is the chance, right? This is the chance to test it out and kind of warm people up to it.
Okay, so I think like if the season actually ends up happening and universal DH gets brought in, I can't see them ever going back. Once they bring it in, it's in for good, I think.
I think this is like whatever they do this season, if they have a season at all, it's going to be a tester season where they test a bunch of stuff. And another thing that they're doing, people are talking about now, this is less certain, but there's a possibility of more wild card spots, or even like
we touched on this in an earlier podcast because there was already some rules that got brought in. So all of those are still going to be brought in because what was the major rule? Like the pitcher that gets brought in has to face minimum three batters, right?
minimum.
And so there's going to be like they're kind of getting not gimmicky, but they're bringing in all these different rules. So like you said, this is a tester season. They could bring in a whole lot more new rules to see if it works.
Because here's the thing, right? Yeah. They're talking about even a playoff tournament with all 30 teams. So the regular season, it's a shorter regular season.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, see, it's a shorter regular season. So it's really just about where you get seeded. And then there's a 30-team playoff in baseball with series. That's nuts.
You can convince me on it because it's a short season. But like that's tough. Like how short a season are we gonna have though? Because you tell me it's a 25-game season, I'm gonna say okay, because how many teams can have a pretty crappy start to the season and then turn it around? So this is kind of makes it fair. But if you're having like a 50, 60-game season, you don't need all 30 teams in the playoffs, because then you're looking at then the field really gets separated. So you're looking at the 1 through 10 versus 30 through 20. Those series those are wash.
Yeah.
But then again, a 30 beats a 1, and holy crap, that's good TV.
That is amazing TV, man. That
imagine if the Baltimore Orioles made the playoffs last year, due to this method, and then won
it. See, and I'm willing to try it out just for this season. I know, I've talked about, in the past podcast, I'm kind of contradicting myself because I said it's stupid to even expand a little bit the playoff rosters. But at the same time, for this, given that it's just a tester season, why not? Why not give it a shot? And it makes things a little bit more fair if you're in a stacked division, if you're the Blue Jays and the Mets, and you're in a stack, we're thinking selfishly here as Jays and Mets fans, it gives you a chance to touch the playoffs, even though you're in a very tough division that you're going to finish in third.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. That's a good point. And it gets you in. I've argued against you on other podcasts that they need to have more playoff spots. Obviously long term 30 is never going to happen, but it could be interesting to see. And in a time where everybody's going to be watching it, you're getting all the views if you have more games. So it's good. I'd like to see it then.
And I think thinking selfishly, I mean the DH, the Mets have a lot of good infielders that are not great hitters. I'm thinking Jeff McNeil, who can hit a ball, but he's not like a big power hitter, and he's a great infielder. Robinson Cano is still a pretty competent power hitter, but he's just not much in the outfield or in the infield. And then you got a guy like Cespedes who plays soccer in the outfield, kicking the ball around. Get him off that side of the ball. I'm looking for, as much as I don't like the universal DH, I'm looking forward to what the Mets can make use of it. I think it's from a practical setting for the Mets. I think it's a good. I think you watch a solid 20 games of your team with the DH and see what it can do, and you go, or do we need this? See, I don't know if I'll go that far, but who knows? We'll have to see. We'll have to see. And so there's to get on the logistics side, there's 26 ballparks that are available between Arizona and Florida in terms of spring training facilities and on major league parks, because a lot of teams share facilities. I'm pretty sure the Marlins share with the Cardinals or something like that, and then there's other teams that kind of share like that.
But I mean, 26 is more than
enough. More than enough.
Like theoretically, you need 15 because all 30
Yeah.
teams play in the same day. You have
Exactly.
15 parks.
And you have Tropicana Field, where the Tampa Bay Rays play, which is an absolute dump of a stadium. Like, it's ugly as hell.
But it's gonna be the nicest stadium they play in this year.
Yeah, because it's still nicer than Marlins Park, which is like a guy on LSD threw up. And then Chase Field. And all these are dome stadiums. So that gets into one of the problems with one of the bigger problems of this proposal is that it's hot. Arizona summer heat and Florida humidity. There's a reason the 3 teams that play in those states play inside during the summer. So now we're sticking everybody out on spring training fields. So it's gonna be kind of hot out there. 110 degrees some days in August.
Could cause problems.
And and there's going to be double headers. I think there's going to be a double header a week or something like that. So that's going to be something that people need to be aware of. Mm-hmm. And let's get into some more of the challenges. So Florida spreads, like the fields are spread across the state, whereas the Cactus League fields are in 1 hour of each other. Now, traveling across from the west side to the east side or the north side of Florida, not a huge deal when you consider MLB players during the regular season flying across the country and even to Canada.
But right now, when there's if things don't change and there's still these strict travel laws, that could be everything.
Yeah, it could be everything, because then the ease of just locking everybody down in case the worst thing happens becomes a lot more difficult when you're spreading out. Mm-hmm. This goes without saying, but a short season, a different playoff and DH changes, huge asterisks on stats from this season.
Yeah, that screws up so much with stats.
Yeah, like this, you almost have to keep this one as a separate chapter in the stat books. But as I said before on the pod, the stats serve the game, not the game serving the stats. So if it means we're going to have baseball, but it messes up all the stats, I'm down for it. Like, this doesn't seem like a big problem for me.
Of course. But it's such a, like, the weirdest thing with the stats is, like, because baseball is, a player can get really hot for a period of time. And, like, you're going to have players here that get hot for the period of the season because it's going to be a shortened season. And you're going to spread their stats out over what would be like a full-length season, and they're going to look great. And then they're going to get signed these huge deals when they're very much average players too. Mm-hmm. Like, that's one thing where the stats are really going to, like, hurt the team. They could really help players hurt teams, or it could go the opposite way where you don't have the time to straighten it out.
Yeah.
But overall, of keeping stats for like a player's career, yeah, you're right. That big asterisk on this year.
Mm-hmm. And then, so you need the green light from the powers that be, state officials, medical experts, all of that, yada yada yada. This all needs to be approved before.
I think the biggest green light is the players.
The players, yeah, that's a great point. And I think the players their hearts in the place where I want to play baseball this season. Like, I want to give something to the fans this season. For the most part, I know there's players, like the thing with athletes in this Corona situation. Like, if you're an athlete, you think yourself, like, in terms of health. Yeah, there's kind of this indestructible feeling that you have when you're an athlete. It's really, the athletes don't want to bring things home to their families. That's the big thing. And you can't blame a player who says, well, I want to stay in quarantine because I don't want to be traveling around and get my family sick. And you can't blame the player for saying that. So that's going to be a green light. Speaking of the players' families, if you're an MLB player and you live, like, let's say you're a Toronto Blue Jays player and you got a house near Toronto, and your family's, like, your kids are in school there, your wife has a job maybe in the city, and now all of a sudden, you have to go to Florida for a shortened baseball from, let's say, July to November. You're going to be in Florida and Arizona. You're going to have to move the family. You're going to have to be away from the family. So that's just like
I think most likely you're away from the family. Move the family, which is tough.
Yeah. And then, so there's still medical minds who say that the sports is in no way possible until we get a COVID-19 vaccine. That's where I've seen that from a few articles. going around that's the people are just saying like stop wasting your breath, MLB. Like there's just no way we do this until there's a vaccine. This is no doubt one of the biggest hurdles, and that's the biggest reason why baseball in 2020 is still a possibility.
And no, to me that like that seems so like that seems like such a black and white thing for people to say too. Because the thing is, like with this virus, things are changing every single day. So there's no way for the MLB to anticipate with full certainty. That's why like this is very much just a possibility. Nothing is for sure.
Yeah.
But so there's so much uncertainty with this that there's no way that we can predict any which way. So
Yeah.
I think that's why there's like you can't sit here and say like there won't be baseball or there will be for sure. We're just these are possibilities and we just got to discuss them, and the MLB is going to have to sit there and be prepared in case things can happen. So if they sit on their ass and don't get ready, they're going to lose out.
Oh yeah, for sure. And one of the interesting, like you brought up the uncertainty, and one of the cool things to get outside of sports for a second, just think about the times we're living in. Like this is one of the rare moments where we kind of realize our place in history. You look back to the Black Death, right? Like the plague, and the big
real dark here.
The idea was it's called miasma. Do you know miasma theory?
Never heard of it.
So it's basically miasma is the word for bad air. So it's the idea that disease is spread by bad air. So if something smells bad, there must be disease in that air that smells bad. So that's why you had the plague doctors who were going around like taking care of patients. They had those big beaked masks where they stuffed flowers in them, so it would just constantly smell good. And if I'm smelling good, the black plague can't touch me, right? And so we look back at that and say, well, you were kind of close to the truth, but you were totally far off from it. And like that's the uncertainty. And now we're experiencing the same thing. Our leaders go out and they say like, we don't know what the numbers are exactly. People are trying to make projections. Those projections are often wrong. So we're just in like we're going day by day, and that's just all we can do. So you can't blame baseball for trying to make it work. Yeah.
No, I agree.
But I like, and now if my question to you is, okay, let's think kind of like worst case scenario, MLB gets going again, and somebody like in the league tests positive. Do you think what do you think the media backlash to that is going to be?
Huge. I mean, it's huge.
Do you think Manfred loses his job?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it depends on how serious the fallout of it is. Like if one player gets it and then like everything shuts down properly, like then probably not. But if it's a chain reaction type thing, kind of like similar to kind of what we saw in the NBA, where they might not have even been linked, but like there was a chain reaction of players that got it. Yeah, I think you have to have a scapegoat, and I think you probably see him lose his job.
Rob Manfred. Yeah. See, and that's where like to transition now away from MLB into some XFL stuff. The XFL, of course, the big news is it's looking like the XFL is shutting down. But let's imagine if so really the nail in the coffin for the XFL was the coronavirus shutting down half the season. The XFL did not have the safety net of funds to withstand it, right? But imagine the shit show if Vince McMahon had said, we got like, I'm going to go down with this ship. Like we have to finish the season. And he went forward with it. And then somebody on the Dragons got sick. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's something you look at, like they definitely would have, like there'd been more serious fallout because then you're looking at lawsuits in that situation potentially. So I think it'd be more severe. But I mean, you're looking at the situation with the XFL potentially being done for good. It's sad. So there's a lot of hope with the XFL. They weren't coming in for just another one season stint. They were looking to be back for good. And I mean, just like we interviewed Ernesto Lacayo, kicker for the Dragons, like less than a month ago. It feels like it was what about him? And he was talking about how they in their exit meetings, how the contracts were locked in. They were talking about being paid for the rest of the year, and that they were talking about 2021, and the whole plan was to come back in 21 and keep it going. and now all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, just they're done. And I don't think it's confirmed that they're not coming back, but it's heavily implied from
they're winking at it basically.
Yeah, and it was like, I mean, I think they laid off their entire staff. Like, I don't think anybody's left.
No, I don't think so, because they really shut down everybody. And now, I mean, given this time, everybody's getting laid off right now. That's just the reality. But at the same time, like, I think best case scenario, it's one of those things like it's a 50-50 whether we're back in 2021, and we don't want to lead our staffers on for a whole off season only to have the carpet pull out from under the rug. So let's lay them off now, rehire them back later if we get the chance. That's kind of that's the optimist in me trying to analyze the situation. But it's not really looking very good.
Well, I mean, a situation, because of like how new the league is, how much this hurts them. Could you see a situation where maybe the 2021 we don't see the XFL, they come back in 2022, they take the full kind of let the coronavirus ride out, and then take 2021 off, plan again, and it's almost like you start fresh in 2022.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, they sunk so much money into this season, though. They sunk so much money. Like, I see. I wonder just where, like, how much. I would love to take a peek into the financial situation of the XFL. I mean, you as the accountant would be a little bit more privy to that information, or to knowing what that information means. But I'd be curious, because I'm pretty sure, like, from the story was that didn't they have like 4 years, like money on the table?
I remember reading an article where it talked about how they were prepared to, and I mean, it's going to be like this, I would expect, with most startup sports leagues or businesses. You're going to lose money for the first probably 3 to 4 years. Yeah. Now, that obviously they wouldn't have planned to lose as much as they're going to lose here, because, and I wonder, like, I have to wonder too, is like they did do right by the players where they paid them up for the rest of the season. But I mean, let's say they stop payments when the game stopped. Are you able to, with that funds, maybe set up for next year? And if you're a player, are you saying, no, I need my money now with all this uncertainty, or do you want to come back next year to play football?
That's a great point.
Because a lot of these players, it's like XFL or nothing really, because you're not playing in the NFL, and like the CFL, like, you're gonna have a fair shot at maybe making, but a lot of those rosters are full. Yeah, and you can only have so many non-Canadian players, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those things, you do right by the players in the short term by paying them up, but you kind of hurt them down the road because you cut off their supply for years to come, right? And I mean, imagine,
it's hard to say if you do that, it even works too.
Yeah, like, no, that's a gamble. They might have been shut down
regardless. Yeah,
it's a gamble. Yeah, you probably honestly shutting down regardless, but. Man, it's just like it's one thing for the fans, but really the league was about the players first. The giving
it's for the love of football.
It's for the love of football. It's for giving those players the chance to play for the love of football, and to make their, like, it's like the last ditch Hail Mary at making your dreams come true. And seeing, like, one of the coolest things is, like, the one thing about professional sports is that you feel very distant from the athletes in terms of relating to them, right? But the XFL, seeing, like, guys just on a professional field for the first time in their career after playing on, like, arena football or anything else, right, for so many years, and then just the, like, wide-eyed, like, wow, like, ESPN cameras are on me, like, the ESPN person is interviewing me right now, all that stuff. Yeah. It was fun to watch because you just felt for these guys, and they're all so excited, and you really felt like for the love of football. And the thing that almost hurts the most is I was looking at some of the reviews, like, now that everything is wrapped up, people were, like, posting kind of reviews of what they thought of the XFL, and the consensus is that it was at least better than we expected. And that's really all you can ask for in a startup football league, to compete with the NFL, better than we expected. It makes me sad because, like, they did a good job and they're not getting rewarded for it.
Yeah, it's circumstances out of their control is what is causing them to shut down. And
Yeah.
you're right. It was better than I expected. And as Dragons fans, me and you, I mean, Dragons were last place when the season ended, and we were still tuning in every week.
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, it was probably our most talked about topic on this podcast up to the point that they stopped.
Yeah. And we're lucky
And
we didn't, because our original plan was to make it a XFL exclusive podcast, and we would be real
well,
screwed
our
right
original
now.
plan was we were going to be a Seattle Dragons podcast, and we branched XFL, and we said, how about we just do all sports? And,
And now we do
we'd be shut down too.
And yeah, we'd be so shut down. Now we'd say all sports. We dabble in NASCAR. We mainly do UFC, baseball, and football, but all sports except for soccer. Soccer, as we have said, is something that when the online blackjack or poker table isn't doing it for you, and there's a game at 3:00 in the morning because it's in Europe, that's when soccer is useful. Other than that, it's a complete waste of space. So anyway,
WWE gets more talk time than you, soccer.
Yeah, let that sink in. Let that sink in. Yeah, there was some like Holly Holmes news I saw that I almost put in the show, but I was like, no, we're not talking about WWE right now. Anyways,
Holly, you talking about Ronda Rousey?
Or yeah, Ronda. Did I say Holly Holm?
Yeah, Ronda Rousey. Yeah, because she tripped all the WWE fans.
Yeah,
and now all the WWE people actually want to fight her, because it's like, you do realize that she was one of the top UFC female fighters for quite a long time, and you do fake fight. I shouldn't say that because that's what they got all upset about. She said they fake fight.
Oh, it's like one thing you don't insult the WWE fighter's mother, and the fact that all their fights are staged. Those are the no zones.
No. Fair enough.
Anyways, speaking of fighting sports, let's get into the UFC news. Now, UFC 249, that's not happening anymore. No island fights. Dana White was forced to cancel those. Brad, your thoughts?
I mean, it's kind of what had to happen. Like, at the end of the day, I was so shocked that they were going forward with it, and I think that's what had to happen. I mean, like, when you have Disney and ESPN executives coming down and telling you to please don't do this, it makes sense. And you're having, like, the fighters are most at risk here, because if you're cutting weight going into a fight, your immune system will drop. Like, you see them wearing masks, like, in normal fight normal times cutting weight. So you have to, you can't do this. You're putting so many people at risk. There's no way that you get under the 5-person limit in the wherever you're fighting, and there's no way you're sanitizing the ring in between each fight. There were just the capacities to do this, and if one person got sick, likely everybody's getting sick, and then the legal ramifications for the UFC, the ramifications for their brand, their image, and everything would be long lasting. So it's the risk was not worth the reward here, and the reward was big here. It's not worth the risk of it. And even just on a further, like, you can break it down further. If you're somebody now that Ferguson Gaethje gets canceled, now we don't risk Ferguson losing that fight and losing Ferguson Khabib. That fight's still in play too. So there was a lot at risk here, not only just the health, but big money fights that are now still in play. Because, and John Kavanaugh tweeted this out too, to MMA History on Twitter. They tweeted, how about you do Ferguson Khabib, Conor Gaethje, winners face each other? Who says no? And John Kavanaugh gave it a thumbs up.
Okay, my thing is, I was really looking forward to this card. All right, I was call me irresponsible with this stuff.
Yeah,
but
I was looking forward to this card too.
I think they could have gotten away with this. I think they could have done this. First of all, it's a chance to see Ngannou in the rig for the first time since last June. I was so looking forward to that. Tony with a chance to get another interim belt, with the level of, like, the trolling levels of Tony Ferguson. Like, if he had 2 interim belts and he was just strutting them around, as if they
And
were.
they would have been the
like,
different belts too.
Yeah, completely legitimate belts. Like that would have been sick. And also island fights, private island fights. How freaking badass is that? Okay, and then ESPN.
Well, I don't think that's shut down though. The island fights aren't shut down.
I'm pretty sure those. I'm pretty sure those are.
No,
shut down
Dana White came out and said, he said Fight Island is a real thing that I'm still setting up. It's just this, because this was going to be on some native ground in California. This is shut down.
Yeah,
island fights are still coming.
Yeah, and some native land in a county that had 8 reported cases of coronavirus. That's pretty low. That's pretty low. And they're testing everybody. They're testing all the fighters before this happens. So if you get 50 people in a room and you've made sure you've tested them for coronavirus, it's not like coronavirus is just going to manifest itself in this group of 50 people. That's the thing.
But you say that too. It's like, where are they getting these tests? We have a very finite amount of these tests, and people that actually need these tests are not getting them. And you're just giving them to UFC fighters who show no symptoms.
Well, the fact is they have the tests. They have the tests. They're going to use them, you know?
But should they not give them to people that actually need them?
I'm pretty sure they have a bunch of these tests. I'm pretty sure they have a bunch of these tests.
Well, there's a lot of people that aren't getting these tests. So I don't know. I mean, it makes sense that UFC would get them. I'm not saying UFC wouldn't get them, but like to me, it's like, why would you test Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, who are like prime shape and have no symptoms, when like Joe Blow off the street is like 65 years old with a respiratory illness and is coughing a lot? Maybe test him.
Yeah, okay, maybe. But anyways, let's say, like, in terms of, get that out of the way, and just in terms of safety, if you've tested everybody goes and you're good to go. As long as you nobody like gets let in the building after everybody's tested, we're good to go. And also, I mean, think about all the people that have lost their jobs in the last few weeks that just are living without hope. And we have these like antennae, right? And these antennae are just always out listening, picking up little things, right? From the media we consume. Mm-hmm. And you're turning into the news and you're just seeing this many people dead. The coronavirus has spread to this new place. We're going to be locked down until May, June, July, like all this stuff, right? And your antennae are just going bah, 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 with all this bad news. It's weighing you down. You turn on live sports for 4 hours for a main card, and all those antennae just get something different for once. And you can't understate the value of that.
I agree with you. But even on that too, you're saying that people that lost their jobs, Dana White said that this was not going to be free. It was still going to be a $65 pay-per-view. So you just lost your job. You want someone else to watch? Give me $65.
I mean, do we really play? I mean, we pay for every stream. We pay for every stream.
Yes. Yes. Please sponsor us, UFC. Yeah, we pay every stream. But the average fan is not going to know about like these illegal streaming sites that we would never ever use.
Yeah, definitely not.
So
definitely not.
Yeah.
Okay, I just hate, like, this is some Disney Channel bullshit, This is some, like, fucking Mickey Mouse
is because Disney's the one that came.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, come on. Like, if
like
they
when the mouse comes down and tells you to stop, you stop.
Yeah. Well, if they say stop for Fight Island, I'm gonna say Mickey Mouse, just go fuck yourself. Get out of here. That's what I. Yeah, that's what I say.
If they stop Fight Island, I'm canceling my Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah. Don't make me, Mickey. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Oh.
Don't test me, bitch. Oh man.
Oh, that's good. This is. And then there was some other UFC news, right?
Yeah. So
before we get into that, before we get into that though, want to hear from On Point Pomade again?
Let's hear from On Point Pomade again.
Say goodbye to bad hair days once for all with On Point Pomade. Whether you're looking for a timeless shine with an all-day hold or a natural finish with an irresistible fresh cologne scent, On Point Pomade will take your hair to the next level. Use discount code BGT10 for 10% off your entire purchase at onpointpomade.com.
All right, welcome back to the second half of the show, ladies and gentlemen. first bit of news. This is from 249 from before this leaked now, or not really leaked, but people are talking about it now. Masvidal was asked to headline 249 against Usman, which is an interesting thing. Masvidal said to the media, he said, quote, "There was a deal on the table, and when the full deal and the whole extent of it got brought through and how it was going to play out, the budget really wasn't there in a way for what we were asking. The price tag that I put out there, they just didn't want to pay. This other guy, who knows if he was in or not, but my price wasn't met. And for the risk-reward factor, I wanted to get compensated, and the compensation wasn't really there." So it's an interesting piece of news, just to see. I mean, Usman Masvidal would have been a great fight. What are your thoughts on that?
I think what this tells me is that the Usman Masvidal, like we've said before, is the fight to make for the welterweight title. And there's going to be as many problems booking this fight as there was getting Covington Usman in the first place, because they're both strong-headed. They want all the money, and they're never going to agree, and they're just going to lip each other on social media. And we're gonna it's going to be a great fight when we get it, but it could be a long time until we get it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like the ball was almost put in Masvidal's Masvidal's court with the whole coronavirus situation, saying, "Look, if I'm going to risk the health of me and my family, I want the more money." And if he really was concerned about coronavirus, he would just said, "I'm not fighting." But for me, it seemed like the whole Corona thing, the risk to reward factor, was really just a way of just trying to get an extra shake a few more dollars out of the UFC and Dana White.
Is the risk reward factor about contracting coronavirus, or the fact that you're not ready for the fight, though?
That's a good point too. That's a good point as well,
you'd be out of camp.
And you'd be out of camp. I mean, when did up 2 weeks ago we thought Khabib was still going to happen somehow? You know what I mean? Yeah. So you're right. The risk reward factor in terms of just making that cut, starting a camp late, and then going up against Usman's in the same position, though. I mean, it's an equal playing field, really, for both these guys. I don't think if you're Usman, you never take this fight anyway, because there's so much more to lose your title than to, I get it, Masvidal losing the number one contender spot, it's a big deal, but for Usman, losing the title would be more. So I can't see that Usman would have not taken this. Or would have never have taken this fight. Yeah,
I think the Woodley Covington fight was always more likely to be the headliner.
And either of those fights almost would have been better than Tony versus Gaethje, because like you said earlier on the show, I mean, the Gaethje fight comes with the risk that Tony loses his chance against Khabib, which is a fight everyone wants to see. So I
was pretty confident that Tony was gonna win this. I had a significant play in that got voided and gave back to me.
Yeah, you were. Let's just say Brad was very certain that Tony was going to walk away with it. Masvidal Usman, that, like you said, I mean, it's going to be a while. Those are two guys that just love lipping each other and kind of teasing us a little bit, and eventually we're going to get it. But it's going to be a while, and that when it does happen, that's going to be one hell of a fight. Really, I mean.
And it's going to be all right, too, because even in the summer – I'm sorry, Chris. I don't know if I was talking over you. You're going crazy on my end here. Even if in the summer, there's going to be so many of these potential fights that haven't happened that we're just going to have unreal cards.
Yeah.
So it's going to be – the UFC is going to be one of those sports that is going to be really able to rebound from this. Because of how just the ability for them to stack cards.
And just think about all these stack cards, late August when stuff gets started back to normal. You got NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, MLB going on, and then you got your UFC stacked, all these stacked cards from people that are waiting to fight. We're in for some good sports when this is all over.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good.
Now, speaking about, so we're not watching real fights right now, but we can think about hypothetical fights. In the news, Chuck Liddell said he would have beat John Jones in his prime. In a Q&A, he was asked what light heavyweight current light heavyweight. Could you have beaten a fight, Chuck? And Chuck tweeted out, John Jones, because I think I would have matched up well with him style-wise. I would have given him trouble because it would have been very hard to take me down, and I would have been landing some insane power punches during my prime. I also have longer reach than my stats detail. What do you think about that? Could Chuck Liddell have beat John Jones?
I mean, first off, to say I have longer reach than my stats detail, your stats are just simply stats. Unless they're lying, like, that's your reach, Chuck.
And the tail of the tape is fake.
Yeah, really. Like, what is this, the NBA? You're lying about height and everything? But, like, I mean, like, my gut would say no, that John Jones probably beats Chuck Liddell. But at the end of the day, like, you can never say for sure, which makes this so easy for him to say, because you can't prove him wrong.
Yeah.
Because you can't say, we'll get in there and fight. Because he's going, well, like, no, I'm too old. Like, look what happened against Tito.
Well, the thing is, like he's saying things that can't be proven wrong, but then he goes and says, I have longer reach than my stats detail. And that you can definitely...
Yeah, that's where he kind of shoots himself in the foot.
Yeah, it's like... And I mean...
But it's one where... Go ahead. Man, I'm just starting to talk over you here. My bad. It's one where it's you can't prove it wrong. So of course he can say it. He's probably wrong, but you no one's gonna ever know. It's the same way. Like, you could do this for any sport, and UFC is probably the best one to do it for these debates because it's the one-on-one matchups. But
yeah, because I mean it's different than like the LeBron Michael Jordan debate, because I mean it's a team sport, right? There isn't like a 1v1.
Yeah.
Whereas this, like, you can much easier have those discussions about who would win in a 1v1 fight. My thought, like, the thing is, John Jones brings something different with him to each fight, right? So it's like likely if Chuck Liddell were to fight John Jones, it'd be a fighter that Chuck has never seen before. The sport has changed a lot. It's a sport that changes quickly, right? And I think that's where, that's where John Jones pulls ahead. Now, if I'm just talking about who is, like, we're having conversations about greatest of all time, Chuck Liddell and John Jones are in that discussion, right? Both rightfully so. I think.
John Jones. Yes, Chuck Liddell. Much respect to you. You're not top 5.
Did I say top 5?
John. Yeah, you said greatest of all time discussion for Chuck. No, like, a lot of respect. He's a Hall of Famer, of course, but he's not top 5. Like, there's an argument probably that he's not even in top 3 light heavyweights, let alone top 5 fighters.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think, like, and that there's your answer right there to Chuck. Like John Jones's argument for the greatest of all time, if he got out of his own way, he would be.
Yeah. John Jones is John Jones's biggest enemy. That's really the shame of it all. And Chuck, good luck trying to convince people that you could beat John Jones, but you got to shoot your shot.
Chuck loads up UFC 3 and just puts Chuck Liddell versus John Jones easiest difficulty and just beats the shit out of him and goes, yeah, I told you I could do it.
Yeah, he's got to like live. He's got to become like a streamer for a day and just stream him versus John Jones fights. Oh man. So moving on into more MMA news. So MMA fighters, they can apply for COVID-19 relief in the U.S. This is just the right thing for the U.S. government to do. I mean, especially if you're a smaller fighter. Like, we were talking to Scott Holtzman, and he was saying a lot of guys that don't get the big Conor McGregor paydays, if they're not fighting, they're not making money. So I think with Disney just being an absolute vibe killer when it comes to this stuff, you gotta give these guys some relief. So that's good that's happening.
Yeah.
And that pretty much.
And it would be unfair, I think, to expect the UFC to come in and pay them out. Because then you'd be burning fights off their contracts.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's all she wrote for UFC talk, I think. So let's move into a discussion. All right. Tom Brady's legacy. How is it impacted by him going to the Bucs? Brad, your thoughts?
See, for me here, Tom Brady's legacy, I think it's pretty set in stone right now. I think it can only go up. Because if he wins in Tampa Bay, it goes up. It goes up greatly. If he doesn't do anything in Tampa Bay, he's a 42-year-old quarterback that left where he was for 20 years. And like he's on the downcline. He's on the decline of his career. Like I don't think this it doesn't really matter. Like the all-decade team just came out. Tom Brady was the QB for the all-decade team for the 2010s. He was also one of the QBs for the 2000s. He's literally had 2 separate Hall of Fame careers. He is undeniably the greatest quarterback of all time. So you're going to tell me that 1 or 2 bad years with Tampa Bay is going to hurt his legacy? I don't think so. And but at the same time, it can really help his legacy because he goes out and wins the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. That, like, I mean, there's not much more that you can gain, but like whatever else you can gain, he gains it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because it's gonna say like you can do it without New England. So
yeah, that's the whole point. I think the reason he left was because there's kind of there's not many monkeys on Tom Brady's back, but there is one. It's like, could I have done this without New England? And that is really what he
more Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick, yeah, you're right. It's really Bill Belichick that's done so much for him in terms of making him the player he is. Now it's kind of like it's almost like the guy going off to university, leaving home, and trying to kind of prove it on their own. It's the same. I'm sure like Tom Brady's feeling that in that same kind of phenomenon in just a different way, leaving Bill Belichick and the Patriots. And I think like I was a little bit more on the side of if he does poorly, he has a lot to lose. Like I think he has more to lose playing poorly in Tampa Bay than if he was playing poorly in the last 2 seasons with New England, because there's a story, right? There's a story, you know, and the media, there's a lot of Tom Brady haters out there. I'm not going to call myself a Tom Brady hater, but I'm not a big fan of his, you know, but there's a lot of Tom Brady haters out there that are just waiting to kind of point, like, look at his record, look at it with Tampa Bay, look at it. It was all the team around him. The big Tom Brady isn't that great when he's left New England. Now, is that going to carry on into legacy? I don't think so, because that's really the people that are going to be spouting that is the flavor of the month kind of people, the daily blogs and all that. But still, like in the short term, if Tom Brady does poor in Tampa Bay and the Patriots do really well, there's going to be people pointing at Brady. You know, there's going to be people and Brady's not going to get the same amount of grace. Brady doesn't. You can't say, oh, he's 43 years old. I don't know. Like, what is he? 43?
I think he turns 43 this year.
Yeah, he turns 40. So next season he doesn't. He just is not that great. You can't say, oh, he's 43 years old and like he's on his way out. You gotta like lay off the guy. But it's Tom Brady. You're held to a different standard. That's the fact. Like if your Tom Brady is held to a different standard because, like you say, there's an argument that he's the greatest of all time. So I think maybe not the legacy.
But you say this, like you say you say argument. I really don't think there's an argument. And I see like but it doesn't hurt his legacy. Like he has 2 bad years. Like 10 years from now, like if he has 2 bad years in Tampa Bay, 10 years from now, you don't even think about Tampa Bay. You just look at New England. If he has 2 good years, you add it into the discussion. It's a matter, and like it's going to be, he had 20, like it was 20 years, right?
Yeah.
In a New England uniform that were undeniably great. And like, you can't take that away. You can never take that away. Mm-hmm. So no, but, I think you can only build.
But what's like, let's talk hypothetically. If he had, let's say Tom Brady spends the next 2 years playing bad, is he better off playing bad in New England or bad in Tampa Bay? Not as a Pats fan. Don't say this as a Pats fan. Just say thinking about Tom Brady's legacy.
Probably New England. Probably New England, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
It's probably better. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But I don't think. But I think it's also like you could argue that it could be better in Tampa Bay because then it's easy. Like you look like a Joe Montana, nobody thinks about when he was with the Chiefs.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's a good point. Joe Montana is really the case study to go off of because like he's the player that he was the Brady of his generation, right?
Yep.
So
yeah, it's like because Brady's going to be going to the Hall of Fame as a Patriot. He's going to come back, have his number retired by the Patriots. Like the year after he retires, he's going to be back in Gillette Stadium. So it's essentially like it's a marriage. They're just taking a break.
Yeah.
But everybody knows that they're just going to get back together. But Brady's just having a fling down in Tampa Bay.
And he's earned it. To play around. I think the free agency was just too much fun for him. Being a guy, the best player in the league, he
wrote an article on the Players Tribune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wrote an article in the Players Tribune that was really interesting to read. It brought his thought process for why he left and what he wants out of this.
And what did he say?
It was more like reading it. He didn't say exactly why he left, but it was a lot. To sum it up, it was essentially like I wanted to prove myself, and I would never have the chance again if I didn't do it now.
Yeah, and that's really
and I got to take this leap.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's essentially he's going like I took like this leap is no different than the leap I took when I went to Michigan and left the West Coast for the first time in my life. When I went to New England and didn't even know how to get to the stadium, and like left my family behind. This leap and this change is no different than that.
Yeah,
which in a way is true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you gotta, almost with a story like that behind it, the bravery to leave the comfort of New England, the comfort of having Belichick as a coach, the comfort of having your guys like Edelman, who you just are on the same page with, to throw to. That whether he does well or not, like him doing that combined with what he's saying in my mind adds to my view of Tom Brady, and that's what legacy is. How are you remembered, right? And that's something that's going to stand out, and I'm going to remember, and I'm going to be tuning in for his first game as a Buck because that is a sports moment, Yeah. And that's really what legacy is all about. So, I think this is all. I think Tom Brady's legacy is solidified. However you shake the last two seasons. He could have gone and played in the XFL for all we care, or the CFL for all we cared, and he would still be the great Tom Brady. How sick would that be? Just be Tom Brady. Like I want to just muck people in the CFL.
Well, here's the thing. He calls me and says, "I'm coming to the XFL. The XFL ain't shutting down."
Yeah, it's like we back, baby.
Decides to come.
It's like the Vince McMahon memes with like the gifs of him with the money from the WWE clips, just him like, yeah, that's
they really wouldn't have shut down.
They really wouldn't. Oliver Luck just call Andrew like, Andrew, I know you retired, but we need one favor from you. Like we need one season, son. Like we'll give you the best O-line in the league. You won't get touched the whole season. I promise, son.
Oh, that'd be that would be. I'd love to see that. That'd be so cool.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So now, moving on. Mascot.
Something completely different.
Something completely different. You've never seen this before, unless you've been tuning into the last couple podcasts. We're in the Elite Eight of our mascot NCAA cage fight. This is a fight to the death. Mascots are dying left and right as we throw them in the cage together. Two men enter, or two animals or men enter, because this is we don't discriminate here at Mascot Madness. There's this is like a big furry fight. So we're a big furry fight. The first battle is in the Eastern Conference. We have the Arizona State Sparky the Sun Devil versus Villanova's Will D. Cat. Brad, what do you think the odds should be for this fight? It's a Wildcat versus a Sun Devil.
I mean, I think this one's almost a 50-50, eh, Chris?
Yeah, I think.
And we're in the Elite Eight here, so
yeah,
we're in the
I
Elite
think they've
Eight.
made
So,
it.
like at this point, if you've got here,
Yeah.
And now I'm going to share the screen here for this spinner. You see this, all right, Chris?
Oh yeah. So remember we got the Sparky the Sun Devil. He has one of those pitchforks, and the Villanova Wildcat has like basically pitchforks for teeth. So this is a 50-50 fight. Let's say the Sun Devil is in yellow and the Wildcat is in blue.
Let's go.
Spin that wheel. And it's Wildcat that's gonna move on into the semifinals. How about that? Okay, the Sparky the Sun Devil, who was my pick to win, is now been eliminated. So my bracket is absolutely busted. That's a shame. All right, now moving on into the West. This one is definitely not going to be a 50-50 because we got Gonzaga's Spike the Bulldog versus San Diego State's Aztec Warrior. Now, mind you, Aztec Warrior has a javelin. So I think this is good. What do you think, Brad?
Almost 75-25.
Yeah, I think 75-25. So the Aztec Warrior is going to be in blue. Because, I mean, Bulldogs, they're tough, but they're small. And if you have a weapon, you could probably kill it.
Yeah.
Sorry to all you...
Like an Aztec Warrior.
Yeah, but...
You ready?
I know who's betting on the dog, though?
Who?
Michael Vick. Spin the wheel.
That's tough. Might have to cut that.
And the Aztec Warrior wins. Oh, Michael Vick, he's crying, but not crying too hard.
Yeah, Michael Vick can go straight to hell.
Yeah, we need Sparky the Sun Devil up in here. All right, moving into the Midwest, we got the St. Mary Gale versus the Kentucky Scratch the Wildcat. So we got a guy with a sword versus a Wildcat. I think that's a 50. It's pretty similar to Sparky Sun Devil versus Wildcat. So I think that's 50-50. So let's say the Gale is in blue, Scratch the Wildcat is in yellow.
Okay.
And it's the St. Mary Gale. I'm happy because that means there's only one Wildcat left. I was afraid this whole thing was going to be Wildcat. Like, NCAA teams need to pick a mascot that's not a Wildcat, by the way.
Yeah, it was about half the bracket was Wildcats,
like half the bracket was Wildcats when we started this off. So that's kind of ridiculous. All right. So next we have, in the South, to round us off, Colorado's Ralphie the Buffalo versus St. Rutgers Scarlet Knight. I think that's
60-40.
Yeah, I think 60-40 for the Scarlet Knight because I mean.
I was saying 60-40 for the Buffalo.
I think we gotta make it 50-50 then. In that case, because like I mean, the Buffalo's got horns, Scarlet Knight's got armor and a sword. So I mean, but the thing is, you get hit by a buffalo charging at you in the head with the horns. You're gonna get CTE. You're getting CTE from rattling around in your helmet. Like your helmet ain't gonna help you. It's gonna hurt you more than help you at that point. So so let's say 50-50. Spin that wheel.
So Buffalo up top.
Buffalo Scarlet Knight sounds good. And it's the Scarlet Knight going on to the next round. So in the final four, we have Villanova's Wildcat versus the San Diego State Aztec Warrior. And then in the other side, we have St. Mary Gale versus the Rutgers Scarlet Knight. That's going to be very exciting, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll get into the final four next weekend. And if you hadn't checked out how we saw it got to the Elite Eight, make sure you check that out on the last 2 weeks pause. And now, now we have some sad news to get into. Edmonton Oilers forward Kobe Cave died Saturday morning at the age of 25 after suffering a brain bleed earlier in the week. So thoughts and prayers go out to the family. We're thinking of you. It's a real tough situation. So thoughts and prayers. And
it's so much harder to lose a family member on a holiday weekend. It's Easter. So that's just our thoughts go out to the family. It's life, but it's very sad. So, 100%. Anyways, moving on to that. Make sure to leave us a like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. We're putting these out on YouTube now. Hope you enjoy the content. It helps us out a bunch, especially subscribing. We just want to watch this community grow. Follow us on Instagram.
Follow us on Instagram.
You say it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, also, I was going to say, follow us on Instagram. Stay up to date with the latest content. We post whenever we post news, podcast or YouTube clips. Tell your friends. Help us continue to grow.
And send us an email, biggametalk@gmail.com. I keep cutting over Brad. I'm sorry, Brad. Now, Brad,
I think we got a new setup here, and I'm thinking we're having problems with it that we're going to have to figure out after we hang up here.
See, the thing is, like, my end is fine and my end's recording, but then, like, on your end, I think you're just drunk or something. I don't know.
No, here's the thing is, like, I keep starting to talk and it lags a little bit, and when I start to talk I realized that you were halfway through a sentence. So I apologize, but if you stayed through this far into the end of the episode, we have a challenge that we said at the start of the episode we were going to do. Now, if you send us an email at biggametalk@gmail.com and you tell us who our favorite NASCAR driver was, and if you are a true listener, you should know. We'll give the first person to do that $5.
Yeah, $5. You could go back in time to 2008 and buy yourself a foot long at Subway for $5. I think they're like $8 now. Anyways, but $5, you can't pass this offer up. I know a lot of people out of work right now. This $5 could really go a long way for you. So tell us who our favorite NASCAR driver is. Maybe even say, like, have a nice email. You know, give us a thoughtful message. You know, tell us something you want us to talk about. Say how great our hair looks because of On Point Pomade. I don't know. Just tell us. All you got to do to get the $5, though, tell us who our favorite NASCAR driver is. And just remember, as we head out, stay safe and healthy during these wild times, because these are crazy times. This is bananas time. And you got to stay sane out there in bananas time. And stay 6 feet away. Listen to all the rules. When you go to the grocery store, the more people listen to the rules, the smoother the experience is going to be. And that's what I learned today going out to the store. Mm-hmm. So stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you guys next week on Big Game Talk.
Peace. Have a good one.